according to me, most companies in Dubai, and I dare say in the entire Middle East, are still doing business on the dark ages of the internet. When I said that to Gautam, he looked at me and he was puzzled. He said, how is it possible? How is it possible that we are, Dubai being so technologically advanced, we are still doing business online as if we will be in the dark ages? I said, well, okay, let me just tell you a few points. First of all, most companies obviously use computers on their day-to-day operation, but are clueless on how to use the internet to acquire new customers to boost their sales. How many of you would agree with me with that? Okay. Most companies have a website, but are clueless on how to make the website a significant profit center. How many of you would agree with me? Wow, almost all of you. Excellent. Next one. Most individuals have business ideas, but are clueless on how to use the internet to turn their ideas into profitable ventures. How many of you will agree with me? Most individuals would love to have multiple sources of income. Do you know what multiple sources of income are? Don't you think that that's a beautiful sound? Most people would like to have multiple sources of income, but are clueless on how to use the internet to achieve their dreams. And most companies focus still on surviving or making the sometimes mediocre budget, but remain clueless on how to use the internet to grow their business significantly. How many of you are working on a company that suffer from what I call budgetitis? We have to make the budget. 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 And there it is, every single person. We have to make the budget. We have to make the budget. How many of you can recognize that disease in your organization or in your business? Right? So if you recognize all these problems, you can actually realize that people are still doing business in the dark ages on the internet in Dubai, and as I dare say, the entire Middle East. So what you were saying is actually very accurate. Now, very good. Let's just try to expand a little bit this so that you can actually put this thing into context. I actually took this screenshot a couple of days ago, and what we can see here is that by the end of the year 2008, there's going to be 1.5 billion internet users worldwide. In the Middle East itself, there's 41,939,200. Now let's try to put that into perspective so that you will see how powerful this could be. There were 565.7 million internet users worldwide at the end of 2008. Right now, there's 1.5 billion by the end of 2008, which means that this amounts to 155.716 million per year, 12.97 million per month, 432,546 per day, 1,802 per hour, 300.3 per minute, or 5 new internet users every second of the day worldwide, translating to a new internet user going online every 83 centiseconds this year. Isn't that mind-blowing? I mean, so many people going on the internet. Now, what is the problem? The problem is, and this is something that you need to understand, so let me ask you a question. How many internets are there? How many internets are there? Sorry? How many internets are there? I see some people telling me with hesitation. One, some people don't say anything, some people completely confused.
Are you also talking about invisible web?
Now, there's 1.5 billion people on the internet right now. That is clear. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, you can actually go and look for the statistics online, and you will see that that's exactly how it is. 1.5 billion. Now, out of those 1.5 billion, there's the biggest majority, 97%, that operate in Internet number 1. Very likely, you still operate in Internet number 1. What is Internet number 1? Internet number 1 is the one that people use only using 6.5 websites. It has been proven that the biggest majority of the internet only use in their internet experience 6.5 websites. What does that mean? They use Google to go and look for stuff. They use their email. They use their some sort of site to book their travel. Possibly they use Amazon.com. Possibly some of them do their online banking. Some of them have a Facebook page or a MySpace page. What else? Who can tell me what else do they use? Sorry? Friendster, okay, another one. Now, interesting enough, everybody's quiet. This is not like everybody's putting their hands up telling me, well, you know, this is all the websites that we're using. So which basically is telling me that you guys are on internet number one. You're amongst the 97% of the 1.5 million people that only use 6.5 websites average on your internet experience. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think that that is the potential of the internet? Of course not. Of course not. So there is internet number two. And what is internet number two? Internet number two is the one that the other 3% of the online population use, including myself. Okay? Now you might be wondering why I'm actually using these two symbols to actually describe each of them. How many of you were actually wondering that? How many of you are using at this very moment Internet Explorer as your browser? Okay, those guys, you guys are definitely, I mean, whoever is using Internet Explorer are people which are not really very experienced on the internet. So first thing that you need to do, lesson number one, if you want to actually start figuring out how to use the internet in a by far better way, you have to go to firefox.com and you're going to download Firefox. And you start using Firefox instead of Internet Explorer. I'll tell you why a little bit later on. But if you want to start already becoming knowledgeable, because I tell you what the problem is, there's a lot of people which are they are computer savvy or computer literate, but they are internet illiterate. They're computer literate, but internet illiterate. It's a complete different story. So if you want to start already becoming internet literate, first thing that you need to do is you're going to go to either mozilla.org or you're going to go to firefox.com and you're going to download Firefox. Firefox is a web browser and works very similarly than Internet Explorer. So let's just get into the next point, which I think is very, very important. Here is a very critical thing. How many of you have ever heard of the adaptation curve? Okay, one person, not that many. How many of you remember in 1987, 1986, when the fax actually was brought into the market, the first time ever? How many of you remember that? It was just an absolutely amazing thing just to think about that we were going to get a piece of paper from one side of the world to the other side of the world. Everybody was like, oh, what an incredible thing, right? So at 1986, 1987, the innovators were the first ones to actually start having a fax in their office. And what was happening? For example, just a few offices had faxes, and they were very expensive. You remember? Then afterwards, the early adopters, which were oh my goodness, the fax is really a very useful tool. So I'm going to get now the next fax that comes out, and I'm going to also have a fax. And then afterwards, it still kept on growing, and then we get into the early majority, which is the early majority, and then we afterwards went into the late majority. And then right now, about 2 years ago, your grandmother also got a fax. Right? This is more or less how it happened. Now let's try to put that on internet context. Right now, at this very moment, we are just about into the late majority. Right now, if we actually think about it, it is very difficult to actually find someone that does not have an email address. Don't you agree? Right now, it's a very common thing to ask for an email address. Almost everybody has an email address. And if you don't have an email address, you look at that person like, where has he been hiding? Right? So it's very important. We are at this point. Now, the interesting thing, and here is where you're going to actually find the big potential, is that those people which are actually making it big online, or not only big, but they're making it online, big and not so big, and all sorts of different in-betweens, are at this very moment, at this very space. So now, there's only about 3% of people which know how to use the internet to improve their sales or to make money. Right? There's only about 3%. 97%, it's an untapped market. When do you think here is the right time to actually get on board in learning how to use the internet as a perfect tool to start making money? When do you think is the right time? Do you think it's a good time to actually get online, doing business online in this part? course not. When is the right time? Now. Now is the right time. Now, this is a very interesting thing. This is the Kalish Times for today. This is the Kalish Times for today. Stocks in tailspin. Investors keep running. How many of you have been hearing all the negative news about what's happening worldwide? All the problems which are happening worldwide, and everybody's concerned. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? How many of you are aware of what is happening? Let me see a show of hands. Only half the group? I think all of you, right? All of you are aware. How many of you are actually, well, I won't say to put the hands up in this one, but how many of you are actually feeling this pain within yourself? Oh my goodness, I'm not possibly, for example, yesterday I was watching on CNN and they were saying, oh my goodness, now for Christmas I'm going to only be able to give my kid one toy instead of two toys like this last year. What a sad thing. I mean, I hear those stories and they break my heart because I live in a complete different world. Because I belong to that 3%. I see things completely different. The internet is the only recession-proof world in this entire planet. And that's why it's very important that we actually get this information. That's why when Gautam was telling me this, I was telling him, you know what? I think it's critical that we actually bring these seminars to Dubai, to the Middle East, because you know what? If we don't do it, someone else will. So we have to actually get on board and start bringing this information to the Middle East. So what happened, let me tell you where was actually the moment that, you might be wondering, how is it possible that if everybody got on board on the internet, and now everybody it's in quote-unquote internet user, how is it possible that not e-commerce did not develop as fast as internet usage? Let me tell you why. How many of you remember in 1997, no, it was 1999, sorry. How many of you remember in 1999 the dot-com burst, the dot-com bubble burst? Yeah, only half of the group. The rest were not alive then, or what happened? Excellent. Well, what happened then was that people were thinking on how to do business online as they were doing offline. And I tell you, doing business online and doing business offline, it's a complete different story, but complete different story. Now, because of course there was so much money lost by many investors on those days, and many people got completely confused, they started saying, oh my God, the internet is very scary. I cannot get on the internet. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And of course what happened, general panic got into the markets, and of course they say, okay, the internet is better and very safe if I actually just use it to send email. Can you see what happened? Big problem, big problem. So, let's just go a little bit further down. The great thing about that moment is, right now, the playing field is leveled. Huge companies are now being affected by small little companies which know how to use the internet in order to be more effective. One of those examples, for example, and actually I feel very proud of being part of that of the team that was behind the creation of that great success here in the Middle East, Air Arabia. How many people were saying, oh my goodness, how is it going to work? Of course it's not going to work. No way it's going to work. Right? Right now, Air Arabia is actually a force to be reckoned with. Why? Because, of course, they understood now that the playing field was actually leveled. Who would have thought in the right mind 10 years ago to be competing with a giant like Emirates or with a giant like Qatar Airways or Gulf Air? Now look at what has happened. The playing field is now completely leveled. Which means that size, age, experience, location are no factors anymore for success. How many of you would agree with all the things that I'm saying? Right? Excellent. Very good. So, now, today, all you need to make money on the internet is the following. First of all, you need an open mind. First of all, you need an open mind. Very important. Second, you need a computer, just in case you were wondering. Very important. Third, you will need an internet connection. Fourth, you will need willingness to learn. And last but not least, you will need some internet literacy. You will need internet literacy. That's all you require. And guess what? I mean, how many of you have a computer? Excellent. How many of you have actually internet connection or can go to an internet cafe to access the internet? Excellent. Very good. How many of you are willing to learn? Just half of the group. Let me just make sure that all of you are willing to learn. Okay, and the thing that we can actually provide to you is internet literacy. Because remember, we were saying it's not the same to be computer literate than to be internet literate. I have a lot of friends which are IT savvy that have no clue about how to make money on the internet. And for example, myself, I am an absolute dunce on computers. However, I am relatively successful on the internet. So these are basically all you need to do to start making money online. What else do I need? Of course, you might be wondering. Do I need to be a computer whiz kid? The answer is no. Do I need to have a lot of money to get started? The answer is no. Do I need a website? What do you think is the answer? No. It will help, but the answer is no. Would you be interested if I tell you I'm going to show you a way how you can start making money without having a website by the time that you leave? Would that be interesting? Yes. Of course it will. So do you need a website? No, you don't. You don't need a website. It will help if you have a website. Do I need a product to sell? Let me see. Do we need a product to sell? How many of you will say yes? No, you don't. No, you don't need a product to sell. There are ways in how people basically throw money to you without you doing anything on the internet. There are ways. How many of you have ever heard of Google AdSense? Okay, a few people have. Google AdSense, Google sends me a check every single month. You know for what? For doing nothing. I swear, they send me a check for doing nothing. So, this is very important. Now, the problem is, of course, these things you're thinking it's weird, but could this actually happen? The answer is yes. All you need is to have an open mind and also to have computer literacy. So, do I need a product to sell? No. Now, let me just tell you something. What is a big problem? Right now, most people are living on their reality. This is the reality. They have a very, very small container. But let me ask you a question. Is that your capacity? Don't you think it's a terrible thing that people are so much suffering in this world financially because they have a very small reality? It's a terrible thing, don't you think? What is what we need to do? We have to expand our capacity. And in order for us to do that, we need internet literacy. We need to become internet knowledgeable. Now, the problem is, how many of you have ever heard of Socrates? Socrates used to say, I only know that I know nothing. Now, before you arrived to this room, you were unconsciously ignorant, which meant that you did not know that you did not know. Now, the moment that you do not know that you do not know, what happens? You cannot do anything. Now, at this very moment, I am just making you aware that you do not know that you do not know. In this point, you are now becoming consciously ignorant. The moment that you become consciously ignorant is when things start happening. The heavens open. Why? Because then you can do something about it. If you don't do something about it, things are not going to change. For things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. But the thing is, how do I get better? What do I do? Well, right now, the first thing to do is you have to understand that you do not know that you do not know. Now that you do not know that you do not know, how many of you will be willing to know? Because that will be the next step. Excellent. So let's go to our next slide. How many of you have ever heard of a book called The Blue Ocean, The Blue Ocean Strategy? If you haven't, please make sure to go get it. Do you have it also available? Well, let me just do a commercial for Right Selection. Make sure that you get it with Right Selection. So what happens? In this book, they just simply describe that there's two oceans, right? There's the Red Ocean, and the reason why they call it the Red Ocean is because it's a bloody ocean where everybody's really attacking themselves and eating themselves up, and everybody's looking for market share and trying to compete against each other, and everybody's killing each other, right? And now there's also the Blue Ocean. In the Blue Ocean is a place where you completely make your competition irrelevant. A world full of opportunities. Why is it that most people still want to keep themselves inside of the Red Ocean? Beats me. But my only answer is that they are unconsciously ignorant. In other words, they do not know that they do not know. Now that you know that you're actually swimming and navigating in a red ocean, wouldn't you like to actually find out how can I actually get myself from the red ocean to a blue ocean? Would that make much sense? Of course it will. So, basically, what I'm asking you to do is jump into the other ocean. Why suffer? I mean, are you martyrs? Do you actually enjoy suffering? How many? Let me see a show of hands. How many people want to be in pain because of the economical situation? How many of you would like to actually keep on getting all these bad news all the time there and still enjoy being there on the bad news? Let me see a show of hands. One person. Okay, we have a person there that enjoys it. Fine. Okay, very good. So, how many of you? How many of you have actually downloaded my book? Let me see a show of hands. If you haven't, make sure to download it. This is my free gift to you. In this book, I explain to you all the tools that you can actually get. It is a free book. I am not selling it. Why am I not selling the book? Because I am not a red ocean person. If I will be a red ocean person, trust me, I will just go right now and try to sell you my book. Guess what? I don't care about that. What is what I care? I care that more people become internet literate, because if more people get internet literate, what's going to happen is that's going to be starting to affect also the economy of the blue world. See, in the blue world, you live in a world of abundance. In the red ocean, you live in a world of scarcity. In a blue ocean, I will feel happy to help you all. I want to help you, in fact. Why? Because I'm not competing against, and even if we will be competitors, there's so much. I mean, people go to the ocean to get water with a spoon and a bucket. Why not bring containers? Right? So I want to give it away for free, and there's a lot of very good information in how you can actually get yourself into a blue ocean. So let me go next to... Let me just tell you at this moment what is the offline reality. First of all, I will talk about it in personal front and also a company front. First of all, most people living in the red ocean, or the offline reality, basically the people which are only living offline, possibly many of you, they do worry about the economy. Am I right? They also, a lot of them, suffer what I call having more month at the end of the money. How many of you have actually experienced that? Having more month at the end of the money. Right? How about, they also worry about job security. Right? Also, another thing that they worry is about uncertainty. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And also, they also worry about the credit crunch. That's in the personal front. Now, if we go to the company front, the companies also worry about the economy. Companies also worry about what I was telling you earlier, which is budgetitis. Companies are also very aware of fighting for their market share. Their market share is very important. And company front, they're also struggling for getting new customers. How many of you have ever been in that situation, that you're struggling for actually getting new customers? Let me see a show of hands. Okay, well, most of you. Okay, very good. And last, they have very, very limited growth. So offline reality, if you do not know how to use the internet as a tool to start improving your life, basically this is your reality. Now let's see what's the capacity. Let's see. What do these people know that you don't? Who are these guys? Jeff Bezos for Amazon.com, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, and Sergey and Larry from Google. These guys, 15 years ago, were exactly at the same position as you guys are right now. A lot younger. Now let me ask you a question. How is it possible? What do these people know that right now, 10, 15 years after, they are now gazillionaires? What do these guys know that you don't? Would you like to find out? Yes. Excellent. So, first of all, they have something which is called uncommon sense. Previously, when we went to school, they taught us that we needed common sense in order to make it in business. Now, let me ask you, if actually common sense will be important, do you think that Sheikh Mohammed or Bill Gates or Richard Branson or Steve Jobs would have accomplished what they have accomplished? Of course not. Everything is about uncommon sense. So of course, things need to be done differently. Remember, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. And how are you going to get better? By becoming internet literate. Does that make sense? So, what is the other thing? Let's try to find out what are the online possibilities. On the personal front, certainty and tranquility. How many of you would like to go to sleep every single night knowing that everything is going to be okay, there's absolutely no financial problems, you don't have to be worried about paying your bills, everything is fine and dandy on your finances? How many can say that I would like to do that? Great. Next, how many of you would like to actually have multiple sources of income? How many of you would like to have multiple sources of income? Most people live in what I called the trampoline or the springboard way of living. What does that mean? There's only one stick with one trampoline or one springboard, and that's it. What happens if actually you take the leg of this springboard? What would happen to the springboard? It will fall. Well, basically, that's what happened with people that only have one source of income. Now, people that have multiple sources of income, like myself, I mean, I cannot even count the sources of income that I have. But what happens is that I call that the Parthenon theory of living your financial security. How does that work? You have a lot of pillars, which are your sources of income, taking care of the top of the Parthenon. Now, what happens if one pillar goes down? You still have 4, 5, 6, 8 different pillars actually taking care that the top of the Parthenon is not going to fall down, right? Now, this is one of the most fantastic things that the internet can actually bring. Next, passive income. How many of you have ever heard of that theory? Let me just tell you what passive income is, and this is one of the most fantastic things in the world. First of all, if you want to, most people's strategy of making money is they work, they get paid. They work, they get paid. They work, they get paid. Is that more or less the strategy that you're using? Can I share my strategy with you? I work, I get paid, 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 I get paid. Is that nice? Which one of the two do you think is nicer? Right? Right now, for example, I can go to meditate in Tibet for a year, and my income will not be affected. How many of you will think that that's a very nice thing to know? How to do that? Let me see a show of hands. Excellent. Next, of course, you will have more money at the end of the month. Now, it happens very often. I mean, you talk about these things and people start switching off because they think it's not possible. Now, let me ask you, if you will learn 1 or 2 ideas on the internet on how to generate an extra 1,000 dirhams, would you be interested? Is that feasible? Of course it is. Of course it is. So it doesn't have to be huge quantities. It's up to you. Remember, I see, and the internet, and people which are actually working on the internet, they see the world in a way of abundance. And of course, at the moment that you start understanding that this is not that you know how to make money online, job security actually becomes irrelevant. In the company front, you're not worried about the economy. You make your budget in February. Every time I tell this concept to companies, they tell me, "Are you crazy?" And I have showed them to them over and over and over and over again. For example, Air Arabia, let me just bring back that example. On the second year that they were supposed to do this, that they were supposed to be online, they have a prognosis of making 28 million dirhams on their first year. You know how much they made? 106. Which basically means that they accomplished their goals by February. Now, is it possible? Of course it is. But you need to have uncommon sense and an open mind. Now, let me see a show of hands. How many of you would like to have some uncommon sense? How many of you have already an open mind? Excellent. The reason I know that you have an open mind because you're already showing up here. Right? I mean, in your weekend. So that's great. Next thing. You're going to have unlimited customers. How many of you would like to have unlimited customers? I see the internet as a conveyor belt. I mean, suddenly, I'm going to start getting customers coming and coming and coming and coming and coming and coming without me having to go and pursue them. How many of you would actually think that it will be a nice thing to accomplish? Great, right? Fantastic. Next, you will not have any slowdown days. For example, let's say that you have a small little what would you say? Let's say a hairdressing salon. Let's say that you have already identified that on Wednesday afternoon, so this is just one example how you can actually use the internet. Let's say that you have a small little company, a small little shop. It's a hairdressing salon. And you have already identified that on Wednesday afternoon or whatever, it's quite empty. So you actually have been collecting the email addresses from all your customers, and you know that they are living around, so you shoot an email to all of them and say to them, listen, if you come on Wednesday between 2 and 4, you'll get a haircut for half price. Would that be a way to actually generate extra income that you were not about to get? Of course it is. Do you need a website? What do you need? Just a little bit of open mind, and what else? A little bit of know-how, internet literacy. Also, you will have unlimited growth. I honestly think that with the internet, the sky is the limit. And actually, in a moment, I want to show you why the sky is the limit.